It came to light over the weekend that Carolina Hurricanes forward Jack Drury at some point has requested a trade out of Carolina. We will be addressing the rumors and what a potential trade package could fetch for him in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Monday afternoon. And I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Andrew Schnittker. How are you doing today, Andrew?
I'm doing well. I'm back in the old North State, ready to get back in the saddle here.
Yes, and boy, do we have some stuff to talk about today as well. Because over the weekend, it did come out that at some point, Jack Drury has requested a trade out of Carolina. Don't know when that happened. As far as was it in the regular season? Was it during the playoffs? Whenever, I haven't been able to find a actual time frame of when it happened, but evidently he's wasn't happy with his role, and I could definitely kind of see that. He's 22, 23 years old, and he's smaller guy, and just being able to crack the NHL lineup full time has been a bit of a struggle. They ended up sitting him in favor of Derek Stepan. So I'm not really surprised. He wants to do what's best for him. I believe he's played 40 some odd NHL games, playing in the playoffs as well. So he just wants that solid NHL lineup, gig. And I totally understand that. And they're kind of to the point where that may or may not be happening here.
Yeah, that report I think came from, was it Corey Lavalette of the
hmm
Athletic and the North State Journal? I'm not surprised at all. If you look at the recent, and by recent I mean like the last year or so timeline for Jack Drury, you got to remember last year had kind of a cup of coffee with the Hurricanes. Mostly played with the Chicago Wolves. Played really well for the Chicago Wolves. Was a key factor in leading them to the Calder Cup championship. He had 9 goals and 24 points in 18 playoff games with the Wolves. And then, so now, going into last offseason, I think people might kind of forget Jack Drury was very much, at least among like people like us and people who cover the team. I don't know about the team itself, but it was kind of expected that this past season was going to be the one where Jack Drury really stepped in, seized that full-time NHL role, possibly as the Hurricanes' fourth-line center, possibly as a bottom six winger. And that didn't really happen. He played 38 games in the regular season. He did have some good games in the playoffs with
hmm
guys out. But yeah, I mean, I think, things have probably progressed a little bit more slowly than Jack Drury would have liked. If you look at what the Hurricanes did, you mentioned Derek Stepan. They also go out and add Paul Stastny.
Yeah.
Both of those guys kind of move ahead of Drury in that bottom six forward pecking order. I'm not saying the Hurricanes did anything wrong in doing that. They're trying to win a cup. Those are both veteran players who bring a lot to the table and played well for the Hurricanes. But I can certainly see it from Jack Drury's perspective, maybe wanting to go to a team where he's going to have a little bit more of an opportunity. I think if he were to stay, then he could potentially have that opportunity with the Hurricanes next year, with the potential of guys like Drury and Stepan, or excuse me, Stasny and Stepan walking. But that's not a guarantee either, because the battle for some of those bottom six forward spots, I think next year is going to be pretty crowded anyway. When you factor in guys like Jamieson Reese and Vasily Ponomarev, who both are coming off really good seasons with the Wolves and probably going to be knocking on the door. And maybe the Hurricanes surprise us and bring back a Stastny or Stepan, or add another, ring chasing bottom six forward like Paul Stastny. So Yeah, this is not hard it's not hard to see why Jack Drury would potentially want a fresh start elsewhere, given the way this last year for him and the Hurricanes organization has played out. Again, not saying anybody on any side did anything wrong. This kind of is what it is. These things happen sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just one of those things. At the end of the day, this is a business, and folks have to do what is best for them. And Jack Drury, feels like the best thing for him, it could be a new start somewhere else. The Hurricanes, like you said, felt the best thing for them was bringing in some veterans like Derek Stepan and like Paul Stastny. So it's nothing personal. Obviously, they the Hurricanes know what he brings to the table, and they may have seen something that we didn't. You know, you look back to Alex Nedeljkovic. A lot of folks thought, he was going to be the guy, or at least one of them, and then they decided to move on from him. They saw something, that we didn't, and then of course, he had the good first season in Detroit. It was a step back, but then his second season up there definitely hasn't been, or definitely wasn't the best. That's for sure. So I think it's just gonna have to be one of those things that we just wait and see what happens. Because we've seen many times throughout sports of a guy or a girl they'll request a trade, and then they kind of wait it out, and then things progress, and they things settle down essentially. He could have just been unhappy at a point in time because again, we don't know when this trade request happened, whether it was within the past couple weeks, whether it was in the regular season, or when it was, we don't know. So, it could be one of those things where at the time he was upset. Kind of how like when you get upset at work, and you start looking at other jobs, on Indeed or something like that. It could have been something like that. But at the end of the day, like I said, these guys, he's got to do what he feels is best for him, and the Hurricanes need to do what they feel is best for them as well, and that's going to be really important. And it'll be something we continue to follow as the off season progresses, and if he does get traded, uh, and I personally, it wouldn't surprise me if he does. We will look at what potential trade packages for Drury could fetch right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, it's important to take care of yourself, and you need to do so with a good multivitamin. Athletic Greens can be just that for you. Tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. AG1 is a small micro habit with big benefits. It's the one thing you can do every single day to take care of yourself. Your subscription will come with a year's supply of vitamin D, which is important when you can't get outside to get it from the sun. And it is also lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan free, dairy free, gluten free, or actually just vegan. Vegan free isn't really a thing. Uh, so it contains less than 1 gram of sugar and no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything while still tasting good. And it supports better sleep quality and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. It's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third party testing. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now, a Jack Drury trade package. Again, I do feel that it is likely that we could see him get moved this offseason. because we've kind of talked already about guys that could potentially get moved, like Tavo Teravainen. And it really wouldn't surprise me, especially if he wants out, if they do decide to, package him in something. Uh, I definitely see him being a part of a larger deal, if at all possible. Again, like you know, they trade, you know, uh, Tavo, for someone. I could see them throwing Jack Drury in there as a little sweetening piece. I could definitely see that happening. Another thing that wouldn't surprise me is him potentially being involved in a draft day trade, to potentially move up a pick or something like that. That's another one that wouldn't surprise me if we see Don Waddell and company do something like that with Jack Drury to move on from him. But Andrew, what are you thinking as far as a Jack Drury trade package?
Well, I'm kind of with you in terms of potentially like as part of a package in a bigger deal, a sweetener. I don't think the Hurricanes are going to go out and trade Jack Drury just for the sake of trading Jack Drury. They're not going to be like, oh, well, Jack wants out. Let's see what we can get for him. It's going to be as part of something that helps them accomplish a goal. Like, I hadn't even thought of that. But yeah, if they wanted to say, move up a few picks in the draft, maybe, he becomes part of that. But we talked about some potential bigger moves that they could make last week, in terms of maybe going after guys like an Alex DeBrincat or an Elias Lindholm, Nick Schmaltz. Why am I drawing up Victor Arvidsson? And you look, some of these teams could be potential fits for both Jack Drury and potentially what the Hurricanes are looking to do. Like you said, I see him as a sweetener, not a centerpiece of a deal. If they go after a big player, maybe it's Martin Necas plus, maybe it's Jack Drury, maybe it's Tavo Teravainen plus Jack Drury, maybe it's Jack Drury plus a whole bunch of picks and prospects. But like, say the Hurricanes want to go after Alex DeBrincat. Ottawa has 7 forwards under contract for next year. They're a young team. That could be potentially a really good fit for Jack to try to earn what he wants in terms of consistent
Hmm.
NHL playing time. Calgary has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, they have 10 forwards under contract, but they've got kind of a big three in Elias Lindholm, Tyler Toffoli, and Michael Backlund, who's are all going to be UFAs in a year and could potentially be moved. So they could potentially have a spot for him if the Hurricanes use him as part of a package for an Elias Lindholm, or even I guess Tyler Toffoli probably should have been somebody we talked about
Yeah.
last week in our trade targets at good scoring winger. But you look at Arizona; they currently have 7 forwards under contract for next year. The Hurricanes make a trade for Nick Schmaltz or Clayton Keller. Again, another one we maybe should have talked about. Then that number goes down to 6, and maybe that's a place where Jack Drury can earn some consistent playing time. Probably not the most desirable destination in the NHL right now, given all the ownership and arena and potential relocation um, and whatnot. But yeah, I think there are good options out here. I think ultimately at the end of the day, you will see if Jack Drury is moved, it's not just going to be for the sake of moving him.
Hmm.
Maybe if Shane Gostisbehere walks, you could see something similar to the Warren Foegele for Ethan Bear trade, where the Hurricanes swap him out for something like they need, like maybe a guy like a Sean Walker or Sean Dursey from the Kings, who we talked about as potential third pairing trade targets last week. I could
Hmm.
see a similar deal to that, but I do think most likely it'll be part of a bigger package. Um, and then if that's not out there, it may just not happen, because I think this is still a guy with a lot of talent, a lot of potential. The Hurricanes aren't going to deal him just for the sake of dealing him. They may say, hey, look, Jack, we know things haven't gone the way you wanted so far, but you're going to have another opportunity this offseason, this training camp, to step up and earn a spot. And then let's see what you can do.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think, again, if he is traded, it'll be in a package deal. But you talk about, training camp in this offseason, the Hurricanes are likely going to have a lot of turnover again this offseason. Stasny and Stepan, they were just on 1-year deals. So, those roles down on the bottom line, that could very well open up, for Jack Drury, for him to crack the NHL roster full time and not be going back and forth or sitting up in the press box. So, it's going to be an interesting offseason for him because there could definitely be a spot for him with guys, moving out potentially. And then, of course, if, he still wants to be traded and get a fresh start somewhere else, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with him. But, definitely wish him all the best regardless. But, again, training camp is gonna be very interesting if he hasn't been moved, by them because, like you said, Andrew, they're not gonna move him just for the sake of moving him. And training camp, yeah, it'll be interesting if he hasn't been moved because I could definitely see if he is still with the Hurricanes come September, I believe is when training camp would start. Uh, I could definitely see him just going out there, going crazy, and really forcing the Hurricanes' hand, like we've seen, the past couple years with Seth Jarvis and Jalen Chatfield. Of like, no, I am going to be on this roster, uh, and I could definitely see that happening with him because you said it perfectly earlier. We all kind of figured he would be a lock to be on the Hurricanes roster this past season, and he wasn't. So I could definitely see him, taking it personally, pretty much, and just really going out there and forcing the Hurricanes' hand in training camp if he has been moved by then.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is a really important offseason for him, a really important training camp in his career. I think wherever he is, whether it's with the Hurricanes, with somebody else, we're going to see a highly motivated Jack Drury in September for sure.
Yeah, I really think he is going to have a good year regardless of where he is at, whether it's with the Hurricanes, Senators, Kings, Coyotes, wherever. I definitely think he's going to have a good year because I think he's going to be out to prove a point. If he's with the Hurricanes, he's gonna be like, you should have had me here sooner. If he is with someone else, he's gonna send a message essentially to the Hurricanes, he'd be like, "This is why you should have been playing me more, and this is why you should have played me instead of Derek Stepan, instead of Paul Stastny." Yeah, he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder this season. I really really think so. Um, but, one thing that did happen at the end of the week last week, I talked about it on Friday, Andrew, but you weren't here, was the fact that North Carolina has officially moved to legalize online sports betting. I gave my thoughts on it, but Andrew, I know you really want to talk about this, so we will do that right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, it's getting hot outside right now, and if the AC in your car isn't working, you're going to want to get that fixed ASAP. And for a championship team is all about making sure every player is the perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right, just like you need that AC working in these hot summer months. So the next time you need the right parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits just right. The first time around, just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win with the when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay guaranteed fit only available for US customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Now, like I said, I gave my thoughts on North Carolina legalizing online sports betting, but I know Andrew has been dying to talk about this. So, Andrew, take it away.
Yeah, I think this is a really good thing. You've seen a lot of other states do it. It's a little bit of a pleasant surprise, just because without getting too far into politics, the North Carolina legislature doesn't haven't always been the most forward-looking folks on the face of the earth. But yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I think it's a good thing for the state. I think we talked about it, potentially the things it could mean for the Hurricanes in terms of, that sports book Tom Dundon wants to put at the arena, sports book offsite. That's a lot of revenue that could come in for the team, for the county, for the area, for the state. So, I think this is overwhelmingly a positive thing. I think sports betting is like a lot of other things. I'm not, by no means am I condoning illegal activity, but like, the laws weren't stopping people who really wanted to bet on sports from doing it. They were finding another way. This way it's regulated, it's a little bit safer. It's through official channels, doing it through sites like DraftKings and FanDuel and whatnot. Obviously there's drawbacks in terms of the potential negative effects from getting too wrapped up in sports betting. Certainly when this does come to pass, I think next year, if you are going to bet, please bet responsibly. But yeah, no, I think on the whole, I think it's a positive thing for the state. Certainly has the potential to be a very positive thing for the Hurricanes when you circle back to the plans that Tom Dundon has mentioned for potential sports books at and around the arena. Um, yeah, I'm in favor of it for sure.
Yeah, and that was something I mentioned of, with the Hurricanes remodeling PNC Arena, with them wanting to put one in PNC Arena and doing an offsite one. I think, you're also, just NC sports as a whole, you're going to see it in Spectrum Center, where the Hornets play. I think you're going to see it in Bank of America Stadium, where the Panthers and Charlotte FC play. I think, you'll likely see them in, some of the baseball stadiums around, definitely like some of the bigger ones like Durham Bulls Athletic Park. I think you could potentially see one there. Maybe where the Knights play in Charlotte. Some of these bigger ones you could see. Some of the smaller ones, maybe like Wood Ducks and Mudcats, maybe not there just because those are smaller stadiums. But you never know. Uh, these organizations could definitely see it as a way to bring in extra revenue, staying with their respective cities and counties. I definitely think you a lot of sports venues across the state. You're really going to be seeing these things pop up, and yeah, I think it's a long time coming because, like you said, folks, they find their ways to do it regardless, and now it's a safe and regulated way. You're not getting scammed out of money or anything. Because I mentioned on Friday's episode, one of my friends, when she goes up to Pennsylvania for the holidays, it's legal up there. She'll fire up whatever app she uses. I don't remember which one it was. But, she does it when she goes up there. She wins money and then, brings it on back down here. So I know she's excited. Obviously, basically, across social media, from what I've seen, a lot of folks are really, really excited about this move. And, one thing I said was when Tom Dundon said that he wanted to put a sportsbook place in PNC Arena and then the off location that definitely made me think that, all right, this is gonna happen sooner rather than later, because I don't think he'd be saying that publicly if it's not gonna happen for another 5 years or whatever.
Yeah, I think it had been known for a while now that there was support for this. Like I said, it's been approved, probably going to go into effect next year. But I
Mhm.
know Governor Roy Cooper has been a big proponent of legalizing sports betting for a while. Just kind of needed to get the legislature to support it. So a fairly rare bipartisan project here in North Carolina that's being approved and moving forward. So that's kind of exciting in and of itself too.
Yeah, and it's gonna be It's gonna be interesting to see how things, go down next year whenever they are taken into effect. I believe it's supposed to start towards the beginning of 2024, but I'm not really sure. That stuff's all still kind of, coming out right now. But, it'll be really interesting, to see how long it takes for the sports books to start popping up, in arenas, and wherever folks want to put them. It's going to be really interesting to see how things go down and just how it will change, game days at PNC Arena, at Spectrum Center, at Bank of America Stadium, because you figure those are going to be hot spots for these games, especially once folks go in there and see them like, oh yeah, I wanna go throw, I don't know, $20 on this game or whatever. It's gonna be fun for sure. They're definitely gonna be hot spots at these arenas, I feel. Um Again, as far as in PNC Arena, still kind of unsure of where they would put it in there because it's definitely going to be something that needs some space, obviously. Uh, I know there have been talk about, where the eye is and potentially relocating that. But now that it is official and it's going to happen, Andrew, do you have any inkling of an idea of where they could potentially put it in there? I definitely feel it'd be on the first floor for sure.
Yeah, maybe on like, near like the priority lounge or something, or it's just hard to say without knowing how they're going to continue, to expand and update the arena. But yeah, I agree with you that I think it's going to be somewhere on the first floor.
Yeah, I agree that, yeah, first floor, at least for the main one, I could maybe see them doing little smaller ones, throughout the arena, kinda how they do with the Eye. They'll have that main location, and they'll have the little satellite locations, elsewhere in the arena. I could maybe see something like that, or, having, again, the big main one on the first floor, then have, smaller ones on the second and third floor. I could definitely see something like that. So it's not, just like everyone trying to get to this one thing. I could definitely see something like that. Heck, I honestly think that would be kind of smart to do. So you're not having so much congestion right there because you go to the games at the main store for the eye, gets a little congested right through there of folks waiting to go in. So I could definitely see them doing maybe smaller satellite locations throughout the arena, but that's really just gonna have to be something we wait and see what happens because we're still waiting on those arena renovation plans and what we can expect with that. But now that it's officially legalized, it's pretty much a lock to be a part of those remodels for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely something that we'll see. I don't once it's legalized in next year, I don't know if like it's something that would be ready for the following hurricane season or if it would take a little bit longer, but definitely I think going to be coming to the arena sooner than later.
Yeah, one thing I could see them doing is, if it's not ready, well, even if it is ready, and even if it's not, I could definitely see them maybe having some, sort of sportsbook partnership with like FanDuel. I could maybe see them doing something like that just to get the word out of like, hey, you can do this now, and get that revenue and whatnot. I could really see them doing something like that, basically like shortly after it's done. Of again partnering with FanDuel or someone I could really see them doing that. And so there is that there's already that like connection or whatever with the fan base. Like, hey, we already got this deal with FanDuel. Now you can come in to, the Hurricanes games and do it here as well, rather than just on the app on your phone. I could see them doing something like that. Obviously, I don't really know the ins and outs of that kind of thing and how that would work, But I could definitely see them doing something with that for sure, whenever it is officially official.
Yeah, I think that could be a good idea.
Yeah, but that's just gonna have to be something we continue to follow, as time goes on because that's still an evolving situation, as far as when it's going to take an effect and all that stuff. Same with the Jack Drury situation. We'll continue to follow that as the off season rolls on. But that does it for today's episode, folks. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Monday afternoon. Make sure you're following the show on Twitter at LO_Hurricanes, myself on Twitter at Jared Ellis _96. Follow Andrew on Twitter at ASchnit53, and we will talk to you guys in the next episode. And as always, let's go, Canes.